Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is the Dell XPS 13. It's actually a new version being released at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas in 2019, in January. And it looks a lot like previous versions. It looks like the version that came out last year, actually. But there's a key difference in terms of the design, which is if you open it up a little bit and take a look at the front, you'll notice that the camera is finally in its rightful place above the screen. So for years, since Dell started releasing these slim bezeled laptops in the XPS 13 lineup, the compromise they made in order to have a very slim top bezel was that they had no camera on top. The camera instead was down in the bottom, either in the corner or in the middle, depending on the generation. Now it's been moved back to the top. They did that by slimming down the camera, by making the top bezel about a half a millimeter thicker than it was, but it's still overall pretty tiny. So this is a very thin, very light laptop, one of the thinnest and lightest 13 inches that you're likely to find, and you can find the actual specifications at liliputing.com, but it's very sort of compact, yet still gets decent performance, and this version is going to be shipping with Intel Whiskey Lake U processors up to a Core i7 8565U, I believe, and it gets fairly long battery life as well due to optimizations in the display technology and a reasonably large battery for a laptop that does not weigh very much in the first place. So in terms of physical design, like I said, it's pretty similar to what we saw on the previous generation version, but I'll take you a quick walk around. We've got the USB Type-C Thunderbolt ports. We've got another USB Type-C port over here and a headset jack and a micro SD card slot. So there's no separate power jack, you'll notice. That's because you can use the USB Type-C ports for charging. Another thing that has actually changed here is that Dell says that they sort of heard complaints from people that it was a little bit difficult to open, so they created this dual torque hinge. And what happens is it's fairly easy to lift with one hand. Well, it was easier the first time I tried it, but it's easy to lift up until you hit a certain point, and then the hinge gets a little bit tougher. And the idea is that it's easy to open the laptop, but then it also holds firmly into place once it's already open, so that it's not going to wobble too much. The model we're looking at here obviously does have a touchscreen display. Prices are going to start at about $899, but that's for a model that does not have the touch display, has just 4 gigs of RAM, a Core i3 processor, and 128 gigs of storage. You're going to have to pay significantly more if you want more than that. But $899 starting price. I think realistically, though, getting a laptop this day and age with just 4 gigs of RAM and everything else being so nice is a little underwhelming. So I think you might want to spring for the higher priced versions, because I do not believe that the RAM is easily user upgradable. The model that we're looking at here has a sort of white design all around. There's also a new white color for the lid, but there's also a sort of more silver gray version and a rose gold, or actually I think there's a more rose gold colored version, and then black as well. The reason I'm showing you this version is because it's the easiest to see the new display with the camera over the top. So that's a quick look at the Dell XPS 13, the new version coming out. Dell's going to continue offering a previous version, which is the 9360 model, and that one's a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, and a little bit cheaper. This is going to replace the version that came out in 2018, the 9370, and just offer slightly upgraded specs at the same pricing with the new camera layout. So it really solves one of the key problems that I think a lot of people have been complaining about for years, which is the camera placement. Dell has consistently said a lot of people don't actually even use the front-facing camera, so it hasn't been a huge priority, but after hearing enough complaints, it looks like they finally went ahead and did something about that. So this is Brad Linder with Liliputing. You can find more details about this latest XPS 13 at liliputing.com or at Dell.com.